Sackley, Head of Public Sector at CAE. I've been here for 5 years now.
I'm Adam Gray. I work for CAE Distributed Government for the South of England. I've been at CAE for 3.5 years.
I'm Steve Fennell. I'm Head of Distributed Government North and Wales, and I've been here 5 years.
So, gents, as we know, over the last 18 months we've been considering becoming accredited to HIMSS on their INFRAM maturity model. We took the plunge several months ago, and I think really the reason we did that was because we're seeing a huge amount of expenditure in the NHS on clinically focused applications. And there's never really been a good understanding of getting the foundations right. So as we called it internally, the plumbing, or alternatively, you don't put the roof of a house on before you build the walls. So INFRAM is a model that allows us to assess the levels of digital maturity across the 5 domains. And I think until NHS trusts get a good understanding of that level of digital maturity, it's very good for them to make decisions on deploying clinical-based applications that will just not have any effect because the underlying infrastructure isn't there.
That's what HIMSS does, isn't it? It's an internationally recognised score that the trusts can take in order to measure and compare. Where we come in now is that as well as delivering the INFRAM assessment on behalf of the trusts, we can do the post-gap analysis assessment to assist those trusts in moving up that stack.
Yeah, that's very true. So the digital maturity assessment only really gives a score, but then what's a score? You've got to have an aspirational statement and understanding of where the levels of investment are needed, and I guess that's where the gap analysis comes in. It allows us to map the as-is to the to-be, so where they are currently and where they aspire to be. At that juncture, they then have a level of digital maturity across their infrastructure, and they can then start overlaying different applications.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that we started this momentum of understanding our customers and how their journeys are going to experience. And one of the challenges was it was easy for them to just go and spend some money on infrastructure and make what they think are the right decisions. And what's been evident over a number of years is that those things have happened, and then the software has been overlaid on top of it, and it hasn't worked, or it hasn't been built the right way that they think they've got it. So they've got unsecured solutions, they've got systems that are probably a little bit more archaic than they need to be, they've lost automation processes which we can add value to. So, if you're spending hundreds of millions of pounds across the whole of the UK, you need to have the underlying infrastructure to support that, so it's secure, so it's automated, so it gives them the credibility. Because I think ultimately it's the outcomes that sit on top of that make the difference. And I think that's the differentiator that we've got at CAE, is that we can talk about those outcomes that they're seeing. So some really good examples of where we've taken clinical outcomes that they're needing and we've sort of animated it to a way where the technology makes a purpose for it. And having that underlying infrastructure correct just makes it easy for the business case.
Yeah, agreed. I think one of the customers we were working with recently had a very high number of did not attends at their hospital. It was costing them over £2 million a year. We integrated a solution once we ensured that they're digitally mature across their core infrastructure, that allowed patients in a more timely manner to be tracked from their location, where they're moving from, to their exact appointment. Traditionally, what they were finding was that people were parking in different car parks. They were looking and zooming in on the PDF maps that you'd see on a hospital website, which traditionally have been poor, and they just weren't making their way to the appointment. So the solution that we introduced tracked the patient to the car park, and then sort of for a Google Maps for inside, if you like, track them to the exact position where they needed to be. So therefore, they managed to cut their DNAs in half to just 4%, and it saved them over £1 million a year.
And that's across the whole of the UK. I mean, we hear stories from our customers where they're saying that people are going for an appointment the day before to scout out the way to the appointment so they're not late for it, and then they still don't attend. So it's there's travel issues, there's car park issues, there's just locations of buildings are just a nightmare in the acute hospitals at the moment. So if someone wants to change the route of a day patient, how easy is it? It's not. So, it's about bringing that infrastructure in so that we can offer something that's easier for us.
Get that environment right.
Yeah.
It costs the NHS money. Yeah. We hear of trusts putting in new EPR, and all the focus goes on that new EPR system, and rightly so, there's a lot of money involved there, but if you don't go back to getting the infrastructure correct and doing that analysis, early in that process, then yeah, it might not be the success you think it's going to be. And again, that's where we come in at CAE.
We've taken that step to understand what HIMS can bring us as an organisation as well as our customers, so that we embed that into our process. So we already had a process, but this enhances our process. So it means that we're measured. So as a supplier to the NHS, we've got a measurement now that's independent from the work that we do. So we can prove to our customers that we're taking them from an as-is state to where they need to get as a transformational organisation. So it helps and it increases the benefits.